Islam, if you have race pride and love your race, join the Moorish Science Temple of America and become a part of this divine and national movement. Then you will have power to redeem your race because you will know who you are and who your forefathers were. Because where there's unity, there is strength. Together we stand and divided we fall. Come, good people, because the prophet Noble Jew Ali sent to redeem this nation from mental slavery, need each and every one of you who think that your conditions can be better. This is a field open to strong men and women to uplift the nation and take your place in the affairs of men. If the European and other nations are helping him, why not you? It is your problem. The Negro problem is being solved only as it can, and that is through the more national divine movement. If you must have a nation, you must have a free national name in order to be recognized by this nation as an American citizen. This is what was meant when it was said, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. At this time, I'd like to recite the Moorish American prayer because this is the source from which I draw my strength. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. First off, I'd like to rise, walking in Jerusalem, just like John, giving praise to Allah, the author, the creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible, the one who stretches forth the heaven with his hands, who have described with his fingers the courses of the stars, who set it bounds to the ocean that it cannot pass, and said to the stormy winds, be still. I'd like to give honor to the lily of the valley, the bright and morning star, talking about none other than our holy and illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I'd like to give honor to Prophet Noble Drew Ali because it was he who reached down into the watery grave of hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harmed to set you and me back upright on our feet again. I'd like to give honor to all of those and honor to all of you that have and will aid and assist us in this, our divine and gigantic mission, the uplifting of fallen humanity. And last but not least, I'd like to give a special honor to effort because so many of us don't even try. At this time, I'd like to read from the book of the seven seals that none was able to open and read from its sacred pages the messages of purity and love. At this time, I'll be reading from chapter 46, the beginning of Christianity. And it reads on this wise. The foundation of Christianity began in Rome. The Roman nation found the first church of whom crucified Jesus of Nazareth for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. Jesus himself was of the true blood of the ancient Canaanites and Moabites and the inhabitants of Africa, seeking to redeem his people in those days from the pressure of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. Rome crucified him according to their law. Then Europe had peace for a long time until Muhammad I came upon the scene and fulfilled the works of Jesus of Nazareth. The holy teachings of Jesus was to the common people, to redeem them from under the great pressure of the hands of the unjust, that the rulers and the rich would not oppress the poor, also that the lion and the lamb may lay down together, and neither will be harmed when morning came. These teachings were not accepted by the rulers, neither by the rich, because they love the principles of the Ten Commandments. These teachings were not accepted by the rulers, neither by the rich, because they love the principles of the Ten Commandments. Through the Ten Commandments, the rulers and the rich live, while the poor suffer and die. The lamb is the poor people. The lion is the rulers and the rich. And through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, all men are one and equal to seek their own destiny and to worship under their own vine and fig tree, after the principles of the holy and divine laws of their forefathers. All nations of the earth in these modern days are seeking peace. But there is but one true and divine way that truth may be obtained in these days, and it is through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice being taught universally to all nations in all lands. Wow, indeed it's an honor, a pleasure, moreover, a duty to be able to come to you, our Portland listening audience, and talk to you about things that's going on in the world with us. I was in a meeting just earlier, and one of the subject matters that I talked about was I was honored that I was the only person that was in the room didn't have a nationality. Everybody have a nationality except the so-called Negro, colored, and black. And this evening is one of those subject matters that I want to go into. I want to go into it because it's something that the Holy Prophet Noble Ali gave us. And he gave us for our earthly and our divine salvation. Now, I was told one time that there was 2 pillars. They said that there was 2 pillars that we as a people need to look at, because these 2 pillars will redeem us from the wrath of God, and you do that by teaching us to be themselves. Now, who are you? You're Asiatic Muslim. Why are you Asiatic Muslim? But there's Asiatic and there's European, and you're sure not European, and you're Muslim because you submit your will to Allah. So this evening, I'm going to start off by talking about Jesus. I can't talk about nobody but Jesus, because Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judah in the house of David. So I want to talk about Jesus, because in talking about Jesus, I'm talking about those 2 pillars. Now let's look at these 2 pillars. We need to look at these 2 pillars right now, because these 2 pillars is conducive to our growth and our development. Now these 2 pillars was known as Jacqueline and Boaz. Now we know Boaz married Ruth, and from that union we had so-and-so and so-and-so and King David and so. You had a whole lot. But there's another one, the first pillar. And the other pillar is talking about a brother by the name of Jacqueline. And Jacqueline had a wife. And Jacqueline's wife's name was Anna. And these 2 was living according to the word of God. And the reason why I'm saying these 2 are living according to the word of God, because when you begin to check the records, when you begin to look at the records, then you come to find out that some of the great fall through which Jesus came was Abraham, Boaz by Ruth, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Hezekiah, and Joseph by Mary. So I'm into your genealogy. But I'm into your genealogy with these 2 pillars. Now we know they took my Jesus, they buried him in Vatican Square, and they took on his name. Now everybody claimed to be my Jesus. But this is what we're going to get into this evening. Now I mentioned Jacqueline, and I mentioned Boaz, and I mentioned Anna. And a lot of us, no matter how long we've been in school talking about God, we had no idea who Anna was. And I learned this when I first joined the Moorish Science Temple of America. I learned who Anna was. And I learned who Jacqueline was. Because Jacqueline and Anna married each other. And they had a child. And the child they had, her name was Mary. And Mary had a son. And she had a husband. And the son's name was Mary. They son, but Jesus had a father. And his name was Joseph. So we're talking about all these different people right now, talking about our genealogy right now, and it's getting ready to come to full manifest. So now we know who Jesus was. We know who Jacqueline was. We know who Boaz was. And we know now that when you begin to talk about the world, see, the whole world once was known as Asia. At that time, Europe was not even in existence. But everybody that's in existence now and called themselves European, they first was Asiatic, because the whole world was called Asia. And this is what I want to look at it again this evening, because I just finished reading about the foundation of Christianity. Now we know that the Moors, can't get around this, because when I was in the meeting today, like I said, everybody was talking about nationality. But everybody got nationality except me. Everybody have a nationality except me. One day I'm Negro, next day I'm colored, the next day I'm black, and they say man today is what his forefathers were yesterday, and there is no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. So something going on there. There's something going on in the air that's going to be kind of hard to salvage. Now, we're looking at the Moors. They said there was a people that called themselves Moors. They come out of West Africa. And they went into Spain. And these Moors went into Spain because they wanted to give Europe civilization and show them how to live according to the Word of God. So now, in 711, the 1492, we was in Spain. The last stronghold of the Moors fell in 1492, and in 1492, the Portuguese, the Dutch, and the French, and the like came in to play. So let me explain what I'm talking about now. We're talking about the 15th century now, because you got 711, you got 1492. So now we're talking about Queen Isabella, we're talking about the Ferdinand, and we're talking about all of the like. So now if we're talking about Queen Isabella, and we're talking about Ferdinand, then their names start ringing, not before, but after we fell in Spain. So now when we fell in Spain, what took place and who was in control? Giorali said the foundation of Christianity began in Rome. He said it was the Roman nation that founded the first church, of whom crucified Jesus of Nazareth, for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. So you know what? The more of them fell now. And now Christianity have taken charge. And now they begin to work on you and begin to work on me. Now, I went to college, but the college I went to was a college in Washington, D.C., and it's called Bundy College. And they said Bundy College was a school of no knowledge. But I come to find out that I learned a lot of things. When I went to Bundy College, the school of no knowledge, I learned about myself. Now we say that nationality is important. They say everyone has a nationality, but there's a stigma that we got to really look at now, because I have a lot of my friends and a lot of my brothers and a lot of my sisters calling themselves black. And it said that black, according to science, means death. And colored is anything that has been painted, stained, varnished, or dyed. So now we all complaining. We complaining what we going through as a people. We're complaining that we can't do this or we can't do that, but why should you do it? Because who are you? We are who our forefathers were. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. So in 7-11, we was Moors. But let me tell you something. They said that we Hebrew, and they say we're Israelite. But when you look at the Hebrew and when you look at the Israelite, both of them are Moors. So in order for us to deal with reparation, in order for us to deal with these issues that's diametrically opposed to what the Holy Prophet Noble Jew Ali brought us, then we ain't gonna get nowhere, because the subject matter we have to talk about is nationality. Because in this era of time, we're not talking about no other era of time. We're talking about in this era of time. We fail, and when we fail as Moors. We didn't fall as Negroes. We didn't fall as colored. We didn't fall as black. We fell as Moors. And he said Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and the southwestern shores of Africa. Now let me give you some science. The Holy Prophet Noble Jew Ali, he told the Moorish Americans this. He said, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality. And we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now. And all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Jew Ali the prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Jew Ali chose all of us with us. He's talking about you and me. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality. Now, how do we do that? How do we proclaim our nationality other than becoming a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America? You have to become a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America to proclaim your nationality. And if you're talking about going down to the courthouse, if you're talking about doing anything that's diametrical to what Noble Jew Ali gave us that came from the great God Allah, then we outside of the law. How can we go to Rome? Because Jew Ali said, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality. And we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed. I got a lot of family members. I have a lot of friends. And all of them that went to college. And all of them graduated out of college. Me, I'm over 70 years old. So I remember when we was Negroes. I remember when we was colored. And I remember when we was black. And these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779. But they lasted until 1865 because Allah sent Noble Jew Ali the prophet to redeem us from our sinful ways and to warn us of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. And the wrath will hit all of us real hard. So I don't care how educated you are, how intelligent you think you are. If you go tell somebody that you represent the black man, let me reiterate that. If you tell somebody that you represent the black, especially if you're at my age, because you remember when there wasn't no such thing as black. And if we're talking about reparation, and if we're talking about the slave trade, then you know what you have to do? You have to proclaim your nationality and go back who your forefathers were. You can't deal with no reparation. You went into Spain into slavery as a Moor. You went in there and your nationality was Moorish. Now, I'm listening and I'm getting letters from all my friends. Some of the same ones that want to run down to the courthouse and get that information, but you telling me that you're Moroccan American. That's not what Noble Ali said. He said we Moorish Americans. He said the Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and the southwestern shores of Africa. What are you talking about? I'm talking about Hillary Clinton. I'm talking about Barack Obama. And Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, they get on television and they taught us a good lesson. And what lesson did they teach us? They taught us this lesson. They said that Morocco was the first nation on earth that had a treaty with the United States. Now let's look at this. If Morocco, then how did they, because let's look at this again. They said Morocco got its independence March 2nd, 1956 from under French rule, but they're French. Now how they gonna be French and they Moroccans? Which one are you? Because if you say you French, then that's a European. So you telling me that the queen had just passed. She put the Moroccans into slavery, took on our name like they do across the country, gave it to somebody else. Now other people are calling themselves me. And Noble Drew Ali, through the grace of God, he applied the signs. He said the Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, letting you know that the birthright was taken away from you. Your birthright was taken away from you. They took Morocco from you, gave it to somebody else, and gave you some names that you died over today. You call yourself black. Black, according to science, means death. The only black flag that I know is the one that killed roaches. And if you are 70 years older like me, you know that there was a time when you wasn't black. And if somebody called you black, they better know how to rumble because it was derogatory. But this is how the slave trade is in full effect today, because they got all of our sharp brothers and all of our sharp sisters calling themselves black. Now we remember Martin Luther King. He said the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. So now we got colored people over there. We got Negroes over here. We got Negroes, a name given to a river in West Africa by Moors because it contained black water. Now we got black. Black, according to science, means death. The only black flag I know, the one that killed roach. So something is wrong with this picture. Noble Drew Ali said one prophet, one temple, and one nation. I was into a conversation earlier about a subject matter in Chicago. And you have a lot of Moors, most of them come around after me. They're going around trying to find all the pictures. They ain't put Thompson Bay in there though. They ain't asked for Thompson Bay's picture because he had triple 73. See, they didn't put him in there. But you got to understand, when you begin to talk about nationality, when you begin to talk about people, you can't even really talk about Temple 71 in Washington, D.C., unless you talk about the Moorish Science Temple of America. I have a picture right here, and this is the 1972. This is 1972, one of the conventions. And they have a brother in here by the name of Brother W. waist ill. And if I ask a lot of Moorish Americans that's from Washington, D.C., have they ever heard of Grand Sheik? Because he was the Grand Sheik of Temple Number 1 in Washington, D.C. Why haven't you heard from him? Because in 1956, the first Moorish Science Temple of America was established in Lexington, Kentucky. Now, what you mean the first Moorish Science Temple of America was established in Lexington, Kentucky? There was a brother by the name of I want to reiterate this, H. Scott Ill. And H. Scott Ill was out of Temple 21 in New York City. He was at Temple 21. And he was in a place called Lexington, Kentucky. And when he was in Lexington, Kentucky, he met some brothers and that was from Washington, D.C., and because he had some affiliations in the Moorish Science Temple, he tried to get them to proclaim their nationality and their divine creed. So you got to hear, I got to stop right here. I say, I'm going to go back to that. But I say nationality and divine creed. Let's get this. You have a lot of brothers, a lot of sisters that's living in Washington, D.C., that's living in Portland, Oregon, that's living all across the country. And they said that Noble Drew Ali bought us this red flag. The red flag with the 5-pointed green star in the center represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. They talking about that flag, but they don't want to honor the American flag. But Noble Drew Ali told us when we talking about nationality, you're going to have to honor both flags because we got a mission. We got to go talk to somebody about this reparation and a lot of other things. But if you go and say that you don't honor the American flag, you are not honoring Noble Drew Ali. Because he said we have two flags. Every nation on earth flies two flags. One national and one international conjoining, making you Moorish American. So if we go around or go down to some courthouse and say that we just going to honor, because you can't really honor the American flag, or you can't really honor the Moorish flag if you don't honor both of them, because when you say that your Moroccan flag is yours, that was taken from you. You're a child. They took that from us. They took our flag. They took it and gave it to somebody else. That's why Queen Isabel gave all that money away. All that come from you and me. The diamonds and pearls and emeralds and rings, all that came from you and me. It took it. So now we got brothers and sisters that go down to the courthouse, but you don't want to honor both of them because you have to honor both of them because one without the other is but half. Everybody have a nationality. Nationality is the order of the day. And without a nationality, you have no rights that a citizen is bound to respect. So Noble Drew Ali told us to fly both flags. Matter of fact, when I was in the military, and I remember the lesser Sheik said a prophet of it, they said there's no flag right of the American flag. So there's even a way, a different way that your flag have to be flown because Drew Ali told us that. Drew Ali is the last prophet in these days and time. But what it is, you got 5 Drew Alis now. You got 6 Drew Alis now. And all these different Noble Drew Ali, they're adding something else to the pot. But Drew Ali say there's one prophet, one temple, and one nation. And who is the Grand Sheik of the Moorish Science Temple of America right now? Because I've been hearing on the air lately that a lot of people saying that we are the original ones that fly both flags like the prophet said. But you know what? I got 2 friends. One of them name is 2 brothers. I'm not their friend. They don't want to be my friend. 2 brothers, R. Jones Bey and brother Braswell Bey. Braswell Bey is out of Chicago. And brother R. Jones Bey is out of Washington, D.C. Now, I'm going to explain some things to you, and I hope that you will investigate them. And one of the reasons why I like some of the things that Brother Jones Bey is doing is because this is very important. You know, you have to look at this because they was talking about the things that the Moorish Americans has accumulated since the prophet left. And they say, how many different temples can you actually say that accumulated these good things? Grocery stores, built businesses. Well, we got a Moorish home, number 1. We have a Moorish home, number 2. And I remember in Moorish home, number 2, there was a sister named Tigzil. And Sister Tigzil had a lot of sisters around her, just like the Sisters Auxiliary. And they was making all these different clothes for the brothers and for the sisters. So Sister Tigzil was under the grand body that made all these things. So there was another grand body. Matter of fact, I like this other grand body because we had a brother named Cobadil, Michael Cobadil. He passed. He passed down on Prince George home, number 1. He married George first, Connie Dawson Bay's sister. She became the national secretary for a lot of years. He married her. I'm the first one that gave her her nationality card before she went up 71. See? And then there was a sister named Sister Reichel, lived on Moorish home, number 1. And Cobadil had moved down there with her. So the point I'm trying to make is, if there's 2 different settings in the Moorish Science Temple of America, if there's 2 different settings, then we have to look at this because somebody got to humble themselves and go back. I also looked in temple number 1. And there was a sister, she was the governess down there back in the 80s and the 70s. And I was honored to be able to go sit with her. And this sister told me something. And Brother Muhammad Nelson Bey, Page Hill, all them brothers looked at me kind of crazy because she told me. She said, Lynch-Bey, she said if they would have had brothers around like you and those other few brothers, they would not have been able to do to Noble Drew Ali what they done to him. They said the reason why Noble Drew Ali is in the position that he is in now is because of what transpired. Then we talked about why Drew Ali disbanded the Supreme Grand Council. We talked about that because Noble Drew Ali had to disband the Supreme Grand Council because just like over in temple number 4 over there in Detroit, there's a temple over there and them brothers over there is waking back up and putting things back together. But there was some people that was with Noble Drew Ali, you know what I mean? In temple number 4, they took $100,000 a year from the European to stop talking about nationality. Don't tell the people that they is Moorish, tell them that they black. And everybody that's with this dude, everybody's calling our people black now. What about your daughters? It ain't about you because tomorrow I'm going to be gone. Tomorrow you're going to be gone. We have a mission. We got to learn to love instead of hate. We need to raise our people up. We need to bring them out of the darkness of hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything in the harm and put them back on that straight and narrow path. So this is what transpired. So now we're looking over there that Drew Ali disbanded the Supreme Grand Council because what took place was, that's what all them old people know. Well, I know the Nelson Bey family and the Cook Bey family, I know they know, you know, but what took place was same time that those brothers over there in Temple 4 took that money, see, the same thing happened in other places. So they went to the prophet and told the prophet, said, prophet, take the money. The European want to give you some money to stop talking about the Moorish Science Temple of America. So what the prophet did, the prophet waited till we came to a meeting. And when we came to a meeting, he made that brother admit what the Europeans had said to them. So we're struggling. The reason why we're in the position that we're in now is a blessing. If it wasn't for the brothers and sisters who sacrificed their life, no telling where the prophet will be right now. Because all of those that could read and write real good, them is the ones that took the money and got some of it. But we are still here today. All the Moorish American Muslims are still here today talking about love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And the prophet said that the movement will go so low that you think it has vanished from the face of the earth. He said, but one day you're going to look up and see nothing but turban and fez. So brothers and sisters, let's teach this to our little ones, that they may learn to love instead of hate. Let's tell them about their forefathers' ancient and divine creed. Let them know that through the advent of slavery, when the Moors went into Spain in 711 to give Europe civilization, when they went to give Europe civilization, who were we then? We was Moorish American Muslims. And let me tell you something. We're talking about in the Moorish Science Temple of America that all of the Muslims were, all of the Moors were Muslims. Because, see, Islam didn't come about. Let me say this again. Islam did not come about until after 1930. Noble Drew Ali was gone in 1930. He might have left in 29. He was still here in 28. But when Noble Drew Ali was on the scene, there was nobody talking about Islam until the advent of that particular person. So now, if you call yourself Negro, if you call yourself colored, if you call yourself black, you too have taken some of that money. Because man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. I was in a meeting today with a sister from China. And in the conversation, we was talking about the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And in talking about Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you have a lot of people that don't want to admit it. But when you look at the history of all these people, you'll find that the foundation come through the advent of slavery, through Africa. Africa is the cradle of civilization. Before Africa, there was none. So we got to realize that all these people that's talking about they Muslims today. Now, you can't be no black Muslim because it don't make sense. If you say that you're a Muslim, then you have to be Moorish. Because man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. Look at that flag right there. The red flag with the 5-pointed green star. And we don't even say Moroccan flag because the Moroccans, it don't supposed to be right there. They took our flag. They took everything. And this is what took place throughout Africa, throughout the East. They done took everything from us and took it on. They took our name. They took our language. They took our folk. They even took our culture. There was a time, I'm going to tell you, it's a sister named Sister Janice Bey. She just passed about 4 days ago. And Sister Janice Bey joined the Moorish Science Temple in Portland, Oregon. And it was beautiful that she joined the Moorish Science Temple because she got the opportunity to teach 2 or 3 different Sunday schools. And she taught the Sunday school and she cried like a child because she was sick. But she remembered that the prophet said that when he went into Spain to give Europe civilization, to bring them out of the Dark Ages, who were they? So all these things that I was going to take on me a one of them relationship. But I'm not going to be doing no licking and eating and all that kind of stuff. Drew Ali told me something different. I'm not Europe. That don't come out of Europe. That come out of Asia. The whole world was called. Matter of fact, I have a goddaughter. Her name is Asia. Because Asia is it all. See, the first. When you talk about Asiatic, you're talking about you and you're talking about me. So we have a lot of studying to do. We need to get into our studying. See, most of the brothers and sisters that I grew up with, they're gone. Most of them is gone. Now they're no longer here. So you don't have but a few minutes left. So these few minutes that you have and I have, we need to give our life a willing sacrifice. We need to start learning to love instead of hate. I have history of all these brothers, even the brother that passed away. The brother that passed and the Ortiz and Compound, I got the lessons over here in here. Everybody that was ever in the Moorish Science Temple of America, I have a picture of you and what position you played in this subject matter to tear us down and build us back up. What am I talking about? It ain't but one prophet. Look around now. You got 35 Moorish temples. And everybody in the 35, I love it. It's so beautiful. And everybody in the Moorish Temple of America, they say that they the one. We are the one, and we the leader, and we got this. But what took place was beautiful with Lynch-Bey. Pray for the Ill was there too, over in Baltimore. So I love this brother so much. He one of the purest brothers that I ever met. He a reincarnation brother. But he loved prophet. You got two, or you got an extra prophet, you got a little more than me. But this brother loved the prophet. And he showed the prophet in his words and his works and his deeds. But we went up Washington, D.C. We went over Washington, D.C. to meet with Brother R. Jones Bey. A lot of people was up there too. And Brother Lynch-Bey wanted to go meet with Brother R. Jones Bey. But one of the reasons why the meeting didn't succeed as it should have, because Lynch-Bey had to admit that you got this brother, you got this brother, and you got that brother and that brother saying that there's the National Grand Sheiks of the Moorish Science Temple of America. It can't be but one, ain't but one anyway. And he said he took you back to C. Kirkland Bey, F. Delton Bey, Jake Lakey Bey, and he took us all the way back, and it ain't but one. So before you could talk about coming together with anybody in unity, the first thing you need to do is go sit down with those that are saying the same thing that you saying about Millie Ill. But Millie Ill is the brother. He is the brother that the prophet disbanded the Supreme Grand Council for. Now, let me tell you something else what the prophet did. There was a brother named German Bey, Dr. R. German Bey. Prophet loved him. Prophet gave him some things and put him into some meetings, and a lot of things went on. But this brother, German Bey, gave us some wisdom about German Bey. I didn't bring it with me. I wanted to show you a picture. But you know what I come to find out? That when Brother German Bey joined the temple, he had just came from Southern Maryland. And when he was down in Southern Maryland and met the prophet, he met a lot of, he met Weaver Bey, Countryman Bey, White Bey, because White Bey is from down there in Southern Maryland too. So when German Bey and Port Hill and all of us went up there in Temple 34 in Hartford, Connecticut to see Weaver Bey begged for one of these medallions. And Weaver Bey put the medallion on. And if everybody remember when Brother Weaver Bey passed, he had this medallion on. But what grand body was he with? He knew what the prophet had first. Let me tell you something. Got a lot of people. There's another brother, Clifford Jackson Bey. Him and Pleasant Bey. They talking about this brother now, but everybody is going to the prophet's grave site. Everybody's going to visit Noble Ali's grave site to give honor to the prophet Noble Ali. But if it wasn't for Sister Christina Price Bey and Dr. R. German Bey getting Jackson Bey and a lot of other people, there would be no prophet's grave site. And why is that? Because everybody else so worried about taking over and who's in charge. Let's do the prophet's work. Let's teach these lessons to our little ones that they learn to love instead of hate. Let me tell you something. And this is very important. There's a brother that been in the Moorish Science Temple of America with me for over 50 years. And his name was LaVance Green Bey. He just passed not too long ago after doing all them 50 years inside them places. And when he passed and they had his home going, they had to have the home going inside of the Catholic Church. And you know whose fault that was? It's his fault, and it's the fault of Jonathan Howard Ill, because they from Washington, D.C. And the reason why that is you and I both know if you say that you a Moorish American Muslim and you living a life according to hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harm, you can't have no funeral in no Moorish Science Temple of America. What they gonna talk about? If you ain't in the house doing the prophet's work, what are we gonna talk about? And we're going to have to give our life a willing sacrifice to save the babies. because some of his children are still around. So right now, whenever you see a funeral, and if you're not in the Moorish Science Temple, there's nobody going to eulogize you. Why? Because they don't know what to say about you and don't know what you're doing. So what we have to do is give our life a willing sacrifice. We have to learn to love instead of hate. There was 7 tests that the prophet put certain people through. And once you overcome these tests, it'll help you come more closer with the great God, Allah. So a lot of things, let me share this too, because it's very important that I do. Right now, I mentioned Clifford Jackson Bey. And there's a lot of other lessons that R. Jones Bey is in charge of, because Jeremy Bey told all of us. See, when we went to court, I'm not going to get into that because you ain't ready for that one, but when we went to court, we knew that the grand body is C. Kirkman Bey. Now, we're talking about C. Kirkman Bey right now because the prophet told Jeremy Bey, when you coming in this temple, make sure you take off that Masonic fez. Don't wear no Masonic fez up here in this Moorish Science Temple. So a lot of people say, well, C. Kirkman Bey got a fez on. Well, the prophet took C. Kirkman Bey with him in 1928. And in 1928, the prophet had that meeting over in the east. And when he had that meeting, C. Kirkman Bey was his interpreter. But what a lot of people don't really know, he was the prophet's interpreter, and he was doing a lot of things, but he wasn't the Sheik yet. It's over there. It wasn't over there. F. Nelson Bey. There's so many lessons that we need to get into and learn while we're still here on this earth. We need to give our life a willing sacrifice for our people. We need to understand that nationality is the order of the day. You can't serve 2 masters at the same time. And this is the purpose of the Moorish Science Temple of America, because these are the lessons that make you better citizens. And the only way that you can be a better citizen is identify who you are. If you tell me you're a black man, I'm a black man, you can't get in the door. You cannot get in the door, because just like if you're a Chinese and you tell me I don't want to be no Chinese no more, I want to be something else, they're going to look at you like you're crazy, because you're who your forefathers were. And when we went into Spain in 711, we went into Spain as Moors. And all you brothers and all you sisters who claim to be something else, you are that. Because everybody have different sources from which they draw on, but I'm saying your nationality is Moorish American, because you're who your forefathers were. This is why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Jew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. And the Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. We're talking about the Moabites now. Let's look at the Moabites again. You talking about King David. You talking about Jesse. You talking about King Solomon. And you got all the people today that's rearranging history saying something about Jesus. Jesus lived. Muhammad lived. Buddha lived. Confucius lived. The only people going to say he didn't live is those that's trying to steal your birthright. And they want to steal your birthright. I did the same thing. I try to steal somebody's birthright because they right here talking about they this, and I don't believe you that, so I want to be that, so I'm going to take your name. I'm going to take your God. So we know that Jesus himself was of the true blood of the ancient Canaanites and Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. He said the Egyptians who were the Hamathites and the direct descendant of misery. So we talking about Lot, who led the people out of Sodom and Gomorrah, and say somebody turned around and become a pillar of salt. And all you Moorish American Muslims today who call yourself black, you Moorish American Muslims who call yourself Negro and colored, what you have done and what you are doing have put your forefathers over here, and you took on the name. So nationality is the order of the day. When Noble Drew Ali came, he brought the 7. You know, this says 7 is the number of perfected man. And we're striving to reach perfection. And how do we strive to reach perfection? By doing what the prophet said. Whenever a nation is in need of a prophet, Allah will send one. That's why he sent us Noble Drew Ali. He sent us Noble Drew Ali to redeem us from our sinful ways and to tell us to go back to that state of mind of our forefathers, divine and national principles. So I'm talking some stuff today. And I'm talking about nationality. And I'm talking about every era of time, Allah will send one to redeem us from our sinful ways and to warn us of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. And it's sickening. It is sickening that we as a people went into Spain, giving Europe civilization, telling them how to learn to love instead of hate, and now you got some people call themselves black. Some people call themselves Negro. Some people call themselves colored. And this was instituted because they're trying to redeem you from that who your forefathers were and is. Because man today is what his forefathers were yesterday, and there's no one who is able to change man. Let me reiterate that. Unless his power extend beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. So when Noble Drew Ali found the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1913, see, at that time, you had a lot of brothers and you had a lot of sisters that was calling themselves Moorish Americans. But when they took the money to cross the prophet, then they started calling themselves black. Now I want all you children to listen to this. This ain't even for the elders, because your time is declared out. Because you're going to be black until you die. Because that's who you taking money to say that you are. You say you taking money to say that you black. But everybody know, just like a person that was a Japanese and a person that was Chinese, they are still Japanese. And they are still Chinese. A person like me that was Moorish American, that was Moroccan American, that was Moorish descendants, well, I'm not that no more. Because I don't want to be Moorish anyway no more. I want to be black. See? Because black, according to science, means death. So that means if I call myself black, then I'm dead. If I call myself Negro, I'm dead. Because we are today what our forefathers were yesterday. Watch this. You know, we have a divine constitution and bylaws, and we have additional laws. We have laws that Noble Drew Ali gave us, that he put forth to us to study so we'll know who we were and who our forefathers are. I'm just using that one. And when you begin to hear brothers and sisters begin to call themselves black, they get Dr. this and Dr. that. I hear a lot of brothers in the Moorish Science Temple, they call each other doctor. I'd rather for you to do that because you're going to some European school. And they're going to make sure that you get that paper. So they're going to make sure you get the paper because this is very important right now. And this is what we have to do. We have to redeem our people from their sinful ways by teaching them to be themselves. So we got to take that stigma off of our people. We've been talking this right here in the Moorish Science Temple since I've been here in Portland, Oregon, 15 years, 14 years, 13 years. Been doing it everywhere for 50 years. Even though I'm grown and struggling, we know that we're not Negro, colored, black. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality. And we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed. That they may know, see, divine creed. See, nationality and divine creed. We're talking about divine creed now. When you see a brother and when you see a sister that's in church and they singing and they jumping and they shouting, they're Moorish. The foundation of Christianity began in Rome. It was the Roman nation that founded the first church of whom crucified Jesus of Nazareth for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. So you can't call yourself what you are not. The foundation of Christianity began in Rome. Now we're talking about the Roman nation We're talking about the Roman soldiers. We're talking about the Roman Empire. You see how them chimps, they took everything. They're vicious. They knocked our war down. We going into Spain to get them civilized, stupid, not thinking, knowing good and well, you can go tell somebody they need to stop doing this and they stop doing, and this is what they do. This is what you and I do. We done took on the concepts. We done took on the ideologies. The same thing that we went into Spain to tell people to stop doing and Drew Ali gave us the instruction, we doing it today. And we're doing it today, and we got our daughters doing it. We got our children doing it. And we got all these brothers and sisters. I've seen a lot of they're supposed to be all right with me, but look what they got your daughters doing. Look what they have your children doing. You can't serve two masters at the same time. You're going to have to love one and despise the other. So I'm always honored to be able to come to this Moorish Voice television broadcast to talk about the last prophet in these days and time, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I'll be back in a few minutes, but I'm getting ready to close out. All members must properly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband. Take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant from your holy prophet Noble Drew Ali through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Wade in the water, wade in the water, miles and wade in the water. Drew Ali done trouble the water. Who are those children all dressed in white? Look like the children of the Israelites. Who are those children all dressed in green?